So we have put the team back together. This is where we solve all of the world's problems. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about a discussion that's been going on for a long time, a debate as to whether to pay college athletes. Also, obviously, a lot of money is being made in the NCAA.
You know, when I lived out in Oklahoma back in the day, the guys would be driving these, these sports cars.
You're saying the guys meaning the athletes?
The athletes. And they would show up and get all kinds of perks, and apparently the boosters were doing that in Oklahoma, which when you live out there, it's like an NFL team out there. It's all about them. And I go back and forth about they're sort of being paid, but not being paid. And let's face it, look at the money the schools are getting on the backs of these kids.
Well, we'll talk about legally paying them. And the argument we made, they're getting a free education, they're getting books, they're getting room and board, they're getting fed. However, some sports are really demanding, and it's not just in season, it's a full year commitment. So I think they should get a little bit of money based on how much money that team brings into the school. It's going to take a lot of work to figure it out, but I think that they should get paid.
I agree, a stipend of some sort, $50 a week, but the thing I was reading about that I liked is tie it to academic performance. All right, player X on the tennis team or the golf team or the basketball team. We're going to give you $50 a week. You're going to come in once a week and get it from the coach. But if you missed class, unexcused absence from class, hey, you're not doing well in certain class, tie it to some sort of academic performance so it's not just a check that, here you go.
That's an interesting concept. It really is. Now look at Notre Dame, where they say that their players have to have X, Y, and Z, and that they have to have a great.
Well, everyone says that.
Yeah,
everyone says your players
that, but
have.
Notre Dame supposedly sticks to that. But getting back
well,
to
all of them supposedly stick to
right.
it.
But getting back to payment. I mean, what would be so bad, and would it be tipping the scales because it's all about money in the first place anyway?
Personally, I think they are getting paid already. I'm talking to college students who are not athletes who are paying close to $60,000 a year for tuition. Once they get out of school, they are now saddled with paying back student loans of over $200,000. If you're an athlete, you're not saddled with that loan. You're not paying anything back regardless of what you go into once you graduate. You are getting all sorts of services for your involvement on that team. I also think there's a headache that comes after the fact of, okay, well, you brought it up. Do you only pay the athletes who generate revenue? And then once you do that, do you only pay the athletes who really contribute to the revenue generating? Meaning, do you only pay the quarterback? Or does a third string lineman make money?
Where do you draw the line?
So I think you open yourselves up to that debate, which is a whole other debate, and I think the athletes are getting paid. And they're getting a college education. Whether they choose to do anything with it is up to them.
It bothers me, though, now when you see the conference changing and realignments. And why are they doing that? They're doing that because these conferences can make money, these schools can make money, and they don't really, honestly, in the end, I don't know if they care that much about the athlete.
Look, there's obviously an issue here when you get into making big money. The NCAA is at $800 million plus business right now. Let's talk more about that over on SportsEdge.com. We've run out of time here on television, and this is getting good. Go to SportsEdge.com for that. For now, we're going to turn it over to our fitness contributor. We're going to work on your abs and your core today. Now let's get back to this, because you bring up something that's important, and that is the NCAA is making millions and hundreds of millions
on the backs of
dollars
kids.
On the backs of these kids, not only in bringing people into the games and the television contracts, but the merchandise that's sold, the television contracts, the games, right? You have all the games, and you're having these kids' faces on all of these games.
Ed O'Bannon, former
suing.
UCLA player, suing the NCAA, saying, hey, I graduated in 1995, but there's a game with my name and picture on it.
And why shouldn't he
Why
have
am I
rights?
getting paid?
Right. He should have rights.
UConn in 2012 made $63 million in revenue, paid their coaches $10 million. So
I think there's a huge amount of hypocrisy here, where the NCAA is saying, no, this is about education, while they just keep on the cash register. And you can't have it both ways. So let's make it about academics. Maybe Yale and the Ivy League, and to a great extent the Patriot League, has the right idea in keeping it really hardcore about academics. You can't have it both ways. And so if all of this money is coming in, maybe all of that money doesn't get to pay the coach of the Oklahoma football team $4 million a year. Maybe that money has to be distributed better. Maybe I'm sounding like a communist right now. I don't know. But
No, we would stop you if you were. But you know, this has to be figured out. This can't be figured out overnight, whether we're going to pay him or not. And we have a long system in the NCAA rules that you don't pay. And so how do you configure this? It's going to take years if indeed we do decide to do this.
I love the academic idea because most of these athletes are set up to succeed academically. They have tutors traveling with them, academic
But
advisors
you'll talk to
going
people,
with them.
they're never in class. If in certain schools, they never go to class. They got a tutor, because they're a great quarterback, they're going to look the other way.
Well, they have so much on their plate. When you look at it, you look at a football player, there is a big demand, whether it's early morning practices, classes, the travel, the wear and tear. And now with the whole realignment of these conferences, especially what used to be the Big East is now the AAC, and some of these teams are going to have to be doing cross-country traveling. You're putting more demands on these student athletes
Look,
now.
the same could be said for lacrosse. The same could be said for soccer. Soccer actually plays more games a year than football, right? So these guys are going to be traveling. The guys at UConn are going to be traveling out to Texas a couple times a year at least now, rather than keeping their travel short.
And there's not a lot of time for them to get part-time jobs. Sports, even back not too far, you can go out and get a part-time job. But now sports is a full-time thing. They've got captain's practices, summer sessions, 7-on-7s,
What do you do
football.
with the so-called non-revenue sports? Somebody who swims or
Field hockey.
Field hockey. Do you not pay them at all?
I think they need something. They're athletes. And
Because they're not bringing in the kind of dollars that basketball
That's the
and
question I'm
football
asking.
brings in?
Are you
everybody.
only paying the athletes who are generating revenue? You're saying pay everybody.
Pay everybody.
And does the swimmer make the same amount of money as the star basketball player?
Well, that would be argued no, because the revenues come. I know.
That's where you're opening it. That's where you're opening it.
Well, how
huge
about
can of
you
worms.
take a chunk of money, there's 1,000 athletes in our school, there's this much money, split it evenly, done.
I don't think that'll fly.
Then don't get anything.
There
Don't
you
take
go.
any money.
That's
But
Maybe
the way it's set up now is, take any school in the state. Take Quinnipiac, let's say. Quinnipiac basketball has more scholarships to offer than Quinnipiac baseball. Why? Well, it's simple, because Quinnipiac basketball makes money and the Quinnipiac baseball team doesn't make money. Right. And so your revenue-generating sports get more scholarships. So if that's the way the system in place, and we do end up paying the athletes, which I don't agree with, then you would have to kind of stick to that same system. I mean, to me, that's only fair. If you spread the money evenly, then you're kind of defeating what this is all about. This is all about there's so much money.
It was about academics
and
once upon a time.
it seems it's gone past that. The only other thing that I would add is that if somebody doesn't want to go to school, and let's say wants to go straight to the NBA, you can't now, right? Because they have the new rule that you have to have been graduated from high school at least 1 year. You could still go play somewhere. Brandon Jennings did it, right?
Yeah,
He went
overseas.
and played overseas. He made money. A year later, he went a lottery pick into the NBA. Now he's making millions of dollars. So if school's not important to you, then go do what you need to do. If school's important to you, then get your free education, get an opportunity to really make a name for yourself in sports, and be happy with that.
So
That's my thought.
let's take a poll. Pay them, don't pay them.
I think a small stipend is good, yeah.
I say no.
No.
Pay all of them $50 a week, something
Okay,
like that.
so
Tie it to
here we go
academics.
again.
We should arm wrestle.
You kind
We should
of
arm wrestle to
set it
decide
right in the middle. All right. Again, we've saved the world. Thanks for tuning here on SportsEdge.com.